In the heart of a lush, green jungle filled with towering trees, fragrant flowers and colorful birds, there flowed a wide, winding river. This river was not just any river, it was the lifeline of the jungle, providing water and sustenance to all its inhabitants. This river was the home to many animals, but none were as famous or as feared as Craggy, the giant crocodile. Craggy was the oldest, grumpiest and largest crocodile anyone had ever seen. His presence alone commanded respect and caution. He had rough, scaly green skin, a powerful tail and a mouthful of sharp teeth that gleamed whenever he yawned or hissed. His eyes, though often half closed, missed nothing. Most animals in the jungle knew to avoid Craggy. They had learned from experience that it was best to keep their distance. He wasn't mean, but he was always grumbling, scaring off anyone who came near his favorite sunbathing spots along the riverbank. His grumbles were legendary, echoing through the jungle. Craggy liked being left alone, or so he thought. He cherished his solitude, finding comfort in the quiet moments by the river. But deep down, Craggy was lonely. His heart ached for companionship, though he would never admit it. Sometimes he watched the animals on the other side of the river, talking, playing, and sharing meals together. Their laughter and joy were a stark contrast to his solitary existence. He didn't understand why they would want to be so noisy, but every now and then he wondered what it might feel like to have a friend. The thought lingered in his mind, a small spark of curiosity and hope. One little creature who didn't mind Craggy's grumpiness at all was Finn, a tiny, bright green frog. Finn was no ordinary frog. He was small but very brave, curious and always ready to explore. Every day Finn would hop through the tall grass, playing near the riverbanks, humming and singing his little froggy songs. He had heard all the stories about Craggy, the big, scary crocodile, but he wasn't afraid. In fact, Finn found Craggy fascinating and thought he looked wise and powerful, like a jungle king. One day, Finn decided it was time to meet this great creature. He took a deep breath, hopped over to Craggy's favorite spot by the river, and called out, "Hello, Mr. Craggy. My name is Finn." Craggy opened one eye and looked down at the tiny frog, who barely came up to his big toe. "What do you want, little frog?" he grumbled, sounding like thunder. "I just wanted to say hello," Finn replied with a cheerful smile. "I've never met a crocodile before, and I thought maybe we could be friends." "Friends?" Craggy huffed. "With a little frog like you? I don't need friends. Now go away." And he shut his eyes, hoping Finn would leave, but Finn didn't go away. Instead, he sat nearby, looking at the crocodile with interest. Finn had always been fascinated by the larger creatures of the jungle, and Craggy was no exception. "You know, I can do something really amazing," he said after a moment, trying to get Craggy's attention. Finn's voice was filled with excitement and a hint of mischief. Craggy opened his eyes again, curious in spite of himself. He'd seen many things in the jungle, but a frog claiming to do something amazing was new. "Amazing? What's so amazing about a tiny frog?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Craggy's voice was deep and rumbled like distant thunder. "I can hop from one side of the river to the other without getting wet," Finn declared proudly. His chest puffed out with pride as he spoke. Craggy was skeptical, but he was also a little bored, so he decided to humor the little frog. After all, it wasn't every day that someone offered to entertain him. "All right, let's see you do it," he said with a hint of a smile. Craggy's eyes twinkled with a mix of amusement and curiosity. Finn took a deep breath, crouched down low, and then leaped with all his might onto a lily pad floating nearby. The lily pad wobbled slightly but held firm. Then he hopped to another and another and another until he had crossed the whole river without a single splash. Craggy watched, surprised. Each leap was precise and graceful. He had to admit he was a little impressed. It wasn't often that something so small could achieve something so remarkable. "Not bad for a frog," he muttered, trying not to show his amusement, but the corners of his mouth betrayed him with a slight upward curve. Finn grinned, happy to have caught Craggy's attention. It was a small victory, but it meant the world to him. "Thanks, Craggy. I've got lots of tricks," Finn said enthusiastically. His eyes sparkled with the promise of more surprises. "I can do flips, spins, and even balance on the narrowest reed. I'll show you tomorrow." Finn's voice was filled with excitement and anticipation. And sure enough, the next day, Finn returned and showed Craggy his latest trick, balancing on a tiny twig as he sang a funny, froggy song. The song was cheerful and brought a smile to Craggy's face. Each day, he would come back to Craggy's spot by the river with a new trick to show, and each day, Craggy pretended he wasn't interested. But Finn knew better. He could see the curiosity in Craggy's eyes. But secretly, he was enjoying the little frog's visits. The jungle seemed a little less lonely with Finn around, and Craggy found himself looking forward to the next trick. One sunny afternoon, as Finn was doing a high jump from one lily pad to another, he felt the warm sun on his back and the cool breeze in the air. But he miscalculated his leap and fell into the river with a big splash, sending ripples across the water. Finn tried to swim, but the current was too strong for such a small frog, and the water seemed to pull him further away from safety. He started to drift away, feeling more helpless with each passing second. "Help! Help!" he croaked, his little legs paddling as hard as they could. Craggy's eyes snapped open, disturbed from his peaceful nap. Without even thinking, he slid into the water and swam over to Finn, his powerful tail propelling him quickly. He scooped him up with his broad snout and carried him safely back to the shore, making sure to keep Finn above the water. Finn, still catching his breath, looked up at Craggy with gratitude, his tiny chest heaving from the effort. "Thank you, Craggy! You saved me!" he exclaimed, his voice filled with relief and admiration. Craggy shrugged, trying to act like it was no big deal, though he felt a sense of pride. But inside he felt a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "You're welcome, I suppose," he said with a small smile. "I couldn't let my only friend drift away," he mumbled, almost shyly. Finn's eyes lit up with joy. "Friend? Did you just call me your friend?" Finn asked, his voice filled with excitement. Craggy grumbled, feeling a bit embarrassed by his own admission. "Well, don't get any ideas, little frog," he warned, trying to maintain his tough exterior. "I still like my space, you know," he added, though his eyes twinkled with a newfound fondness for his tiny friend. But from that day on, Craggy's attitude changed. He stopped grumbling when Finn came around, and soon they started spending whole days together. Craggy would swim along the river with Finn perched on his back, and they would explore every hidden corner, every twist and turn of the jungle's waterways. Finn loved hearing Craggy's stories from his younger days, back when he was the biggest, fiercest crocodile in the river. And Craggy enjoyed listening to Finn's cheerful songs and learning all about his little froggy tricks. As time went by, the other animals in the jungle began to notice the unlikely friendship between the big, grumpy crocodile and the tiny, brave frog. The birds chirped about it from the treetops. The monkeys chattered in amazement. And even the shy little fish peeking up from the water saw the two friends side by side. One day, as they were sunbathing together on the riverbank, Finn looked up at Craggy with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Craggy, everyone says you're the biggest, scariest crocodile in the jungle, but I think you're actually the kindest." Craggy looked down at his little friend, surprised. "Kindest? No one's ever called me that before." "Well, you saved me from the river, didn't you?" Finn said with a grin. "And you let me sit on your back and listen to my songs and do all my silly tricks. That sounds pretty kind to me." Craggy felt his heart swell with happiness. For the first time, he felt like he had a family. "Maybe I'm not as scary as I thought," he said with a small smile. From that day on, Craggy and Finn were inseparable. Finn showed Craggy all the best places to catch bugs and watch the sunset. And Craggy shared his favorite swimming spots with Finn. They taught the other animals that sometimes the best friendships come in the most unexpected forms. Craggy was no longer lonely, and Finn had a friend who could always protect him and share his adventures. And so, under the warm jungle sun and beside the sparkling river, Craggy and Finn lived happily ever after, proving to everyone that even the fiercest crocodile can have a gentle heart, and that even the tiniest frog can be a brave and loyal friend. The end.